So today we wanted to take some time to talk about recovery from training, and there's two predominant types of recovery that people use, and you've probably heard more about passive recovery, which that basically refers to any sort of recovery you're doing that doesn't involve activity. So these are taking rest days, massage, foam rolling, spas, hot and cold therapy is also forms of passive recovery. So basically anything that doesn't involve, physical activity or exercise, and using that as a form of recovery. So that's the predominant type of recovery that most people think of when we talk about recovery. But there is another type, it's called active recovery. So this is the type of recovery that does utilize physical activity to basically assist in your body recovery. So this can be any sort of light activity that's going to promote recovery in your body. That could be walking, bike riding, light swimming, light jogging, yoga, Pilates, stuff like that, depending on the intensity levels of the session. So these are two obviously very completely different types of recovery. They are both beneficial for similar reasons in terms of how it's helping your body recover. They're just different ways of recovering, and it really is individualized about which one of these you want to do. So obviously there's going to be times when you 100% just need to take a day off, you need to take a day to yourself. Passive recovery is probably most common with people who are feeling either mentally or physically run down, feeling like they're lacking in energy, feeling sick, injured, or are just feeling so sore or depleted from a training session that they feel that they could not participate in a physical activity session. So generally we suggest passive recovery when you're basically feeling burnt out, sick, injured, stuff like that. So passive recovery can be used in any of those situations. Active recovery is something that's really good and should probably be utilized by people more often, where you're doing those lower intensity activities on your days off. So that one is going to assist with your recovery. Two, it's going to improve both your mental and physical health because you're still getting activity in on those days. And three, it's going to ensure that you're not falling into sedentary habits on your days off. So that way you're ensuring you're keeping your steps up, you're ensuring you're still, using energy and stuff like that and getting your body moving on those days. So it really does come down to the individual. What we normally recommend would be days when you're feeling sick, definitely if you're injured, often days post intense activity. So generally the day after, say, a sport, depending on what level you're playing at, or an event, say a marathon, or if you're competing in any sort of sporting events that don't compete frequently, we would recommend a passive recovery day the day after that. That'll just help your body recover from an extremely intense session. Obviously, the event is going to be more intense than your training, and it's going to be more intense than generally, the lead up events to the major. So normally the day straight after we would recommend mainly passive recovery. Obviously active recovery in the form of like a walk or something like that could be beneficial, but mainly passive recovery the following day. And then perhaps the Monday, Tuesday, if the event's on the Saturday, looking at some sort of active recovery on those days. So what that might look like might be a light, shorter jog, so less than a half an hour duration, or a walk, depending on your fitness levels. Swimming, yoga or stretching session and stuff like that. This is just going to help your body recover better. Obviously, you don't need days of recovery after every event. If you're competing in a weekly sport, it's really not recommended. It wouldn't be beneficial. The events we're talking about are long duration and highly intense events. So sporting events generally you should program so that you don't need multiple days of recovery after an event, but there is going to be competitions that are so intense that you will need those, such as marathons and stuff like that. So for most people though, I would say unless you're sick or injured, active recovery is probably going to be the way to go, and that might just be as simple as in the following days after training, just getting a walk in the next day and then going back to your training on the day after that. So that's something hopefully you find beneficial. when programming and stuff like that. If you do have any questions about programming or how to program in recovery sessions, drop them below and we'll answer them in future videos. And make sure you subscribe to our channel to see all the updates on our videos.